Hello, and welcome. You're listening to On the Record with LMPD. This is our podcast that we do about twice a month. I'm your co-host, Officer Matt Sanders. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on our YouTube page. When you hit the subscribe button, you'll be alerted every time we drop a new podcast. So this is On the Record with LMPD. I'm Matt Sanders. Joining me is the Chief of the Louisville Metro Police Department, Chief Erica Shields. Ma'am, how are you doing?
Good. How have you been, Matt?
I missed you a little bit. I get so much crap for doing this with you. People are like, oh, you just tell her whatever she wants to hear. I'm not going to do that today.
Don't do that.
I'm going to ask you some tough questions. I'm going to put you in a corner here. We have a special guest.
Right.
But before we get to the guest, let's talk about, we haven't met in a couple weeks. Last week was pretty busy.
Yes.
What was some of the things the department was doing?
It was there was a lot of movement around robberies. We had someone who was impersonating police, robbing people.
Impersonating the police?
Yeah, we can't hire, but they want to impersonate us and go rob people.
Oh, boy.
But the CID unit, Fugitive First Division, did a fantastic job catching this individual. And then there was another fantastic robbery arrest that we're going to touch on later in the show.
Well, speaking of robbery, I have watch this note. Thank you, Mr. Producer. It says here, let's see, you've looked at the robbery unit and decided to make some changes.
Yeah, a couple of tweaks. So the carjackings, the violent home invasion robberies piece was being handled by the divisions.
Okay.
And at the division level, so that's the precinct level out in the field, they handle so many different investigations. And my concern is when you're dealing with carjackings, home invasions, the level of violence typically associated with them is really concerning. And there's often a pattern. And what I didn't want to have happen is because of the workload in the divisions and the invisible boundaries that exist between divisions.
Yeah, the criminals, they know no boundaries.
Yeah, the criminals have no boundaries, but we tend to have very, very dramatic in ours. That's something that anything would fall through the gaps and we wouldn't be immediately identifying any connections. And
right.
So we centralized back to the CID headquarters, the investigations into the carjackings, home invasions, exceptionally solid unit. And I had no doubt that they would be able to absorb it and run with it.
So we have divisions, patrol divisions are numbered 1 through 8. Each division has an area of responsibility. And there's detectives that work in that division that are responsible for those areas of responsibility. But you saw a robbery, carjacking, crime trend which led you to make a change, which will bring us to our special guest here in just a minute. So this unit can focus on carjackings pretty much county-wide, whereas the division detectives are just kind of being specific to their area. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, without further ado, you're listening to On the Record with LMPD. This is episode 9. I'm co-host Officer Matt Sanders. We're going to bring in our special guest. And this guy, listen, I'm just going to tell you right now, this is my dude. This is my brother from another mother, one of my best friends on the department. I'm so glad to have you with us, Sergeant Justin Stillwell. Justin, how you doing, brother?
I'm good.
Man, it is so great to have you on the podcast. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. You are a sergeant in our robbery unit, but first, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to the rank and position that you hold now.
Well, Matt, Chief, thanks for having me. I started out in the 1st Division in patrol with Matt. And we actually go back all the way to the academy together. So started in patrol down in the 1st, went to the detective's office there, and then did a little stint in crimes against children. Got promoted, came back as a sergeant to the 1st Division, and then took over the detective's office in the 1st, and then went up to robbery as a sergeant about a year ago.
So one thing people always notice about you is that you have like this great personality, this bigger than life attitude. I love you to death, and you also have a great head of hair. And I have to say, I'm jealous because I've been bald for like 19 years, but your hair is so beautiful. I see that it's grown back. So like you had hair, it was beautiful, like waves and waves of beautiful flowing hair, always slick back.
God.
You lost it, right?
I did.
And then you grew it back, and I still can't grow any hair. Tell us about that.
Well, so, I've not had an issue with hair throughout my life, but did a little bout with cancer last year.
Yeah.
Got on the hot sauce for 4 months with the chemo.
Ouch.
And one of the side effects is that you lose your hair. So now I'm in a good spot and able to grow that back.
So strong, man. Not only can you beat
Yeah.
cancer, but you grow your hair back, and I can't even grow a lick on my head, man.
But I mean, that's thank you for being here,
No,
and I
thanks for
mean
having me.
that and for what you do with the department. I cannot imagine navigating that, especially during COVID. It had to have been just. Did you just want to live in a bubble?
You did live in a
that's-
bubble.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did. Unfortunately, due to COVID, like people can't visit you, so you're kind of on an island. So I had a lot of support, not with only friends and family, but the department, the Louisville Metro Police Foundation. A lot of people took good care of me. So
Good.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty good, man. Like he's got a fairly sized big family with some youngsters at home, and there's COVID, there's chemo, immune system issues. So man, we had you tucked away, and I know that was hard on your wife and your family, and there was a lot of people that really stepped up and helped out, and we're so glad you are where you are.
Well, and let me say this: you look great,
I appreciate
and
it.
so thank you for
I already
being
said
here.
that.
No, you know what?
I already said that to him.
So
Don't
let's-
repeat what I said.
You know what?
I
you've
said
been-
it first.
How many years have you known him? Was he always this difficult? Let me just ask that.
So 12 years, and yes.
Dude, I give you a compliment, then you dump all over me. All right, well, let's move on to it. I've given you 1,000 compliments. I'm gonna give you 1,000 more. Let's talk about this case that happened. That's happened over the course of the last couple of weeks. It came to kind of fruition on Friday. It was a carjacking case, right?
Yes.
Can you give us a little bit of the case background on this kind of like ring of like serial robbers that we had?
Yes. So before we get started, the suspects in this case are juveniles, so I'm not going to release any names or anything like that. But
That's
the
fine.
base of the case is the 15th Wednesday down in the Highlands area, so Bardstown Road, Baxter Avenue. We had 3 street robberies about a half an hour apart from each other. After that, there was a attempted carjacking where the female was able to get away, but the suspects were able to assault her a good bit.
Okay, so sorry, Jess, for a second. So carjacking, that's like I'm at Thornton's, I'm getting gas, but I run in real quick to get a drink, and I come out, my car's gone. That's a carjacking. That's something your unit takes, right?
Incorrect.
I was not even close.
So the difference between like a theft and a carjacking. So if you go into Thornton's and you're pumping gas, you leave your car running, which you shouldn't do, but that would be considered a theft. If you're in your car and somebody approaches you and uses violence or threatens violence to take your car,
Yeah.
then that's going to be a carjacking.
Okay, so we have a couple of these cases popping up in the 5th Division. You're the robbery sergeant. Chief, you made the change to have the robbery unit investigate these carjack because we're kind of seeing some data here, right, ma'am?
Right. So this had been on my radar for a while, and I'd been talking to Colonel McClinton about it because I think it's just, again, there tend to be patterns and they tend to escalate, and I think we kind of saw that here. I think they initially,
Absolutely.
yeah, and so I just want to pray. The victims are all okay, though, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're good on that. And I didn't want there to be any. So if they do these robberies in the 5th Division and then go to the 6th Division,
Yeah.
I didn't want there to be a drop off because it was clear they're connected. And so Colonel McClinton and the robbery unit, I mean, they fast tracked centralizing this, and y'all did a fantastic job. Take it from here.
Well, I have to give the praise to my Lieutenant Minnie Vance, and my co-sergeant Glenn Parkus, and then our detective Matt Crouch. Who's spearheading that. So collectively, we were able to get that off the ground and
So you
running.
identify this crime in the Highlands, this carjacking, go from there.
So we identified that, and then the next day there was a carjacking in J-Town at the GFS,
Okay.
and then about an hour later there was a carjacking on Outer Loop across from Jefferson Mall at the Walmart.
All related, we think.
All related, same crew,
So
same
would
vehicles.
you, for the folks that may not know things, the area real well, can you kind of give the footprint of that they were working?
Yes. So they started out in the Highlands, Bardstown Road, Baxter
Down- yeah,
area,
Yep.
and then jump all the way over to J-Town off of Hurstbourne, and then come down
So
to
hitting other jurisdictions.
Yes. So J-Town borders our department, but is not connected to LMPD, although we work with them quite often.
Well, we'll put a map up on the screen right
Okay.
there. You'll see it right here, where and you can kind of see they're kind of circling around here with this theft.
So
Okay.
from J-Town to the 7th Division, and then the next morning there was a street robbery that happened at the Ollies off of Westport in the 8th Division. This lady came out of the store, and the suspects jumped out of the car and threw her to the ground, took her purse.
Oh, boy.
She's 72.
Oh boy.
Ended up in the hospital. She's okay now.
Okay.
But, somebody's grandma
Yeah.
is getting assaulted.
For a vehicle.
And
Right.
Yes, and all this happened in 3 days.
Okay. So the chief made the change. Did the mandate change? Your unit's tracking on all this now. You're getting these fresh cases that are coming up from this crew, and then talk about it from there. So you have these cases that have happened with these carjackings, and then what happened?
So that afternoon, after the Ollie's incident, Joe Berg in the 3rd, due to diligent patrol work, obviously patrols the backbone of the department. He sees one of the suspect vehicles at the Thorntons on Dixie Highway and Pages.
Okay.
So
All the way around the city, I'm seeing here,
Yes.
from the Highlands all the way around, all the way to the 2nd and 3rd division.
pretty much a big circle within Jefferson County.
Yeah.
Officer Berg sees the car. He then sees a second car that's involved with our case. Drop off 4 suspects. He calls for extra resources.
Right. Get them all here. Bring them all to me. Radio.
Sets
send
up the-
cavalry.
Sets up a perimeter, and then he's able to apprehend one of the suspects through a diligent search with K9 and a bunch of other units. We're able to apprehend 2 more of the suspects.
Boom. Good work.
And we got a suspect vehicle. Later in the evening, we
So right there, you've gotten 3 of the 4 suspects and 1 of the vehicles.
yes.
All right.
So
Yeah, and let me give a message here to the community. If the police are setting up a perimeter in your neighborhood, okay, and you may be able to tell because there's a cop at every corner, and maybe somebody in the middle of the street, and you see a dog, a canine, and you see a SWAT guy moving around. If you're concerned, you should be, but you don't need to go outside and talk to the officers. You can call our non-emergency number at 574-7111 and ask, why are there 50 cops in my neighborhood, possibly in my backyard? Don't come out into the perimeter. We don't want you to get hurt. We want you to stay inside. Be a good witness for us. In this case, everything worked pretty well, right? Like, we had a good perimeter set up. We had K9. SWAT guys were coming. You were out there with your detectives and was able to make a couple of really good arrests. What stemmed from that?
So just to give a shout out to the public, you need to stay safe within your home. One of the citizens actually observed one of the suspects and was able to call in and lead us to the direction where one of them
Boom.
were.
That's
So
If you see something, say something.
That
I
is
love
great.
it, people. Great
That's
job.
great.
So after that, we located the second vehicle from the Thorntons that had previously fled, and were able to apprehend one of the other suspect and get a hold of that second car.
Nice.
And then obviously we interviewed the suspects, and I got a full confession. They admitted to the crimes.
How many total arrests?
4.
How many total suspect vehicles recovered?
2.
And how many total crimes are we alleging at this point these 4 did? Alleging.
Within 3 days, there were 4 street robberies and 3 carjackings.
Ma'am, how does that make you feel?
You know what? Phenomenal work. And I think one of the things, it was violent. The manner in which the individuals were conducting themselves was violent, and these folks, everybody that responded, they managed to get everyone in custody without incident. It was the work that was done by everyone who was on scene, who had their hands in working to solve it. It was so professional, and I just cannot say thank you enough. Because you guys, just really the turnaround to get all these folks in custody, it was so quick and seamless.
I think you should promote him right now. I'd be okay with that. It's my homie. Just field promoting right here on the podcast. Let's make it happen. No, but obviously your unit did all this work by your all selves, right? Like, nobody helped, or did you have some help in this?
Oh, we had tons of help.
You want to do a shout out?
Absolutely. So we'll start with the 3rd Division, Officer Joe Berg, and his squad really got this rolling based on his...
They actually spotted the vehicle.
Yeah.
There's a crime that happened in the Highlands, but yet Joe sees the car off Dixie.
And this goes to our point. So the Highlands is the 5th Division.
Yes.
Yeah,
So this
5th
is
division.
a separate division officer who's got
Miles
the
and
lookout.
miles away.
Yep,
We
got
have
the
other officers that are
Yep.
still diligent. Okay, sorry.
Yep.
Go ahead,
So,
Jess.
doing his job, being a good beat cop,
Right.
Getting people where he needed to, reading the emails from the information that we put out. From that, you had K9, which did an extensive track, multiple blocks, multiple dogs. You had Air 20 in the air for the eyes. You had your brothers over in SWAT helping us out on the perimeter.
Good work, boys.
There was Ashley Schaefer from the 8th Division Detective's Office from the incident on the 8th that assisted us. Rick Burns over in J-Town, who's a detective over there.
Yeah.
Our partners at the FBI assisted us. So really, we had a lot of help on this. Matt Crouch, like I said before, is the spearhead of our carjacking initiative and robbery, and really put a lot of this together to help the other units facilitate this.
Yeah, you got to be proud of your unit, ma'am. You got to be proud of the cooperative effort from the department, right?
It's the department, another agency, the FBI. Question: What's the ages of the individuals? Were any adults?
No, ma'am. So they're all 16, 17.
Okay.
young.
Yeah, and this is
driving the violence, man.
Well,
They're
and it
literally
goes
driving
to-
the violence in the community.
So what? Yeah, it's well. I just want to say all the more. So thank you for figuring out a way to wrap this up and do it so cleanly. No one getting hurt. It's huge. And your point to the public calling in. I mean, we can't say that enough. That makes such a difference. It's such a game
Absolutely.
changer.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's so many more of them than there are than us. We
For
need
sure.
their eyeballs for
Yes.
sure.
Sure.
So great shout out
Yeah,
to that
great
resident
work.
that called us and said, "Hey, he's in
Yep.
my backyard." Sergeant Stillwell, do you have any tips for somebody that is, I don't know, they're getting carjacked,
Or
right?
how about let's start there. How about if let's go back to the pump and gas, because
Yeah.
this comes up all
It
the
does.
time.
It does.
Go back, just repeat what you said, because it's so basic and yet it happens all the time.
So just a few tips for the public. Whether you're pumping gas or going to the grocery store, whether you're by yourself or you have your family, you need to be aware of your surroundings. It could be even as little as coming out your front door to your vehicle in your driveway.
Yeah.
So when you go to enter your vehicle, make sure you look around and see what's going on around you. And then when you come out of a store or a residence or wherever you may be, make sure that you are aware of what's around you. And when you pull into a gas station or a restaurant, nothing says that you have to jump out of your car immediately.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
Take-
here, park, I'm out. No, take a
Yeah.
second, right? Look around, be diligent.
Yeah.
You don't have to live, you're not saying live in a paranoid state,
No,
right?
no,
like,
no.
data shows, ma'am, that you still relatively have a low chance of being a victim of violent crime in Jefferson County, right? The data, but it doesn't hurt to show just a little bit of vigilance, correct?
I think it's anywhere in the United States. It doesn't matter where you are. You need to just be aware of your surroundings, because I think the commonality on criminals is they tend to prey on individuals who are here distracted,
Right.
who are not walking in an assertive manner.
Right.
But I'm going back to the point of turn your car off. Do not leave your vehicle running with the keys in it and think you're just going to pop inside.
With your gun unsecured in the front seat, like we
Yeah,
talked
well,
about 2
there's
weeks
that
ago.
too. So, I think, yes, be aware of your surroundings. And just, and with phones, I can't tell you how many times people are just walking with their heads in the phone. And it's just, you've got to just show that you have some concept of what's going on around you. And that is the greatest deterrence, I think, that we can put forward.
Okay, that's fine. I'm the best model citizen that you're describing. I'm digital. I got my keys with me. Whatever. Okay.
All right.
What are you winking for? I'm just saying. Like, let's just say I'm doing all these things,
Yep.
and I still find myself
Oh,
getting carjacked.
For sure.
What are some
Got it.
things I need to try and keep in mind in the heat of the moment?
So one, you should always remember, you should never lose your life over your vehicle. It's a piece of property. So do what you can
That's a fair point.
do what you can to keep yourself safe, your loved ones if you're with your family, and cooperate to the best of your ability. Do us a favor, although this is a stressful event and maybe traumatic for you, but pay attention. What did that individual look like? Where did they go? What were they wearing? Were they with other people? Did they get into another car? Sometimes being cooperative and staying safe and being a good witness is the best that we could ask from you.
Yeah.
To try and get through this incident.
Yeah, because you're going to get to a phone, you're going to call us, and we're going to say, the dispatchers are over at MetroSafe, they're going to say, what's the make and model of your car? Do you know the plate? Like, that type of information can happen really quick, because we don't just, like, have cameras where we can just, okay, we have it right then and there. Like, we're going to need suspect description and stuff like that. So you got to have a cool head, cooperate, don't lose your life over your car, right? That's pretty much it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Ma'am, is there anything else you want to add? I know this is kind of a semi-quick episode. Actually, you know what?
This
Let me
was
back-
good.
Yeah,
Yes,
I got
like
you.
this. I like Justin. And I got some questions for him after the podcast.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
All right. In the hot seat today.
Ma'am, let me ask you this real quick. What's your message? Okay, so this podcast, we've gone on for 20 minutes about carjackings in Louisville, and it's in the Highlands, and it's in Dixie, and it's here. I don't want to scare
No.
anybody. What's your message
Yeah.
to the public about carjackings and that data?
No, so listen, this is this is not something that is occurring on a regular basis that's widespread. The purpose of showcasing this on the podcast is not to instill fear. It's to say we have folks doing exceptional work every day, and they care about getting criminals off the street. We are truly just trying to highlight the work of different individuals in the department,
Right.
which is why we, went out with the river unit, and
When Beth wanted to throw you in the
well,
water.
there was that.
I remember.
But the point of it is not to scare people, because it's not to think that you have to walk around, to your point, just in a state of tension. It's just to show the work that's being done in the department and how well, quite honestly, the department is capable of working seamlessly.
Yeah.
So to that end, I think what we just always would ask of the public is, if you do see something of concern, by all means, call 911. We're here to serve you, regardless of where we're assigned. And I thank you for coming on, because your story is so compelling, and God bless you. And the work that you're doing here is just phenomenal, and the team, you and your team, and I really appreciate it.
No, we appreciate it as well. We're lucky to have it.
Well, that's going to do it. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and you'll get notified every time we drop a new podcast. Sergeant Stillwell, Justin, my good friend, thank you for coming on the show, brother. It's been a pleasure. The chief is now well aware of who you are and all the good work your unit is doing. So keep it up. I know you will. And thanks for listening, everybody. That is a wrap, and you're listening to On the Record with LMPD.